VR games are in need of some desperate help, and I think I know how to help. It all has to do with Half-Life Alyx. But before we talk about Half-Life Alyx, let's talk about what VR is right now for the gaming community. I believe VR as a whole is a brand new niche that people are still trying to get into, but it's really hard for them to because of a lot of games that don't provide that immersion and experience that people are expecting in VR. A lot of people are expecting a full-fledged game, about maybe 40 hours plus, and a lot more of an immersive experience that you wouldn't get normally when you play games. But there is an issue now with VR games coming out recently that have become a staple in the community that I want to remove or pull or yank out entirely. See, Half-Life Alyx has ruined VR for me as a whole, and it's because of how much fun it is to play the damn game. And every other game that I play has become a bigger and bigger disappointment over time. And it all has to do with the fact that Half-Life Alyx is a completed game, polished, and a lot about the game has little bitty details that you would expect to see in a VR title. And it's far better than I've experienced in any other VR game out there. Now, you may think I could be an elitist when it comes down to VR games, but that is far from the truth. See, I love games that are broken. Some games are still broken to this day. Skyrim, Fallout 4, Bethesda, fix your shit. I love these games still because it provided me something that I wanted for a very long time, and that's a great immersion into the world of what the developers wanted me to get into. You know, there are other VR titles as well that have a broken state to them, and some of them are even early access, like Ghost of Tabor, for example. I will still give shit towards that game, but I still like to play it because it's an experience that you can never get unless another developer decides to make an extraction shooter in VR, which I assume someone is trying to do now. But in recent years with VR titles as a whole, a lot of games are just copying games that are already out and pasting them into VR. Pavlov is similar to Counter-Strike. Contractors, similar to Call of Duty. Ghost of Tabor, Escape from Tarkov. Breachers, Rainbow Six Siege. Into the Radius, Stalker. Grimlord, Dark Souls. And the list will go on and on and on, but that's the issue. It's getting to a point where people are asking themselves, what's the point of playing VR when I can just play a game on my desktop? VR is essentially playing games, but with just a couple new mechanics of using your arms and your hands in the game. That's it. We're seeing games like Half-Life Alyx that go above and beyond what VR games are capable of. It's just much more intricate for VR and not just a copy and paste over to a VR port like how Resident Evil 8 did. Now, I don't mind games taking tribute or older games and importing them into VR. I don't mind that at all. But what annoys me is when people think that it's the best experience ever when it's the exact same game just ported over to VR. I feel like people porting games into VR versus making games for VR are two separate things that people need to understand. And that's the other thing too. The fans of a lot of VR games, I feel like, may not understand fully what should be the standard for VR games. Because VR is so brand new and new games are coming out, they're trying to establish what the standard is for VR games. So when I say Half-Life Alyx has ruined VR experiences for me, it's because the experience of playing Half-Life Alyx has changed my standard to see what a VR game should be. A great example is Ghost of Tabor won VR Game of the Year, when there are other titles out there that are polished and full-fledged games, but an early access title wins VR Game of the Year. I think what needs to happen is games, and especially VR games, need to innovate further with the VR tech at hand and using every single centimeter and inch of that hardware, instead of just porting a game over from keyboard and mouse to VR that has already been made. A great example of this, and I don't know if there's any games out there who has used this technology yet, on the Quest 2 and Quest 3 controllers, there are sensors at the edge of your controllers that I don't think I've seen a game use yet, because it's a sensor that can indicate where your thumb is at. But I would love to see this sensor used for gameplay mechanics or gameplay value. Like a certain thing, like if you want to look at a map and you want to scroll down or scroll up, you can use the sensor on that. Or maybe something more intricate where if you want to do a select fire, you can just tap the sensor and it can change the select fire. But there's so much potential with that sensor alone that I don't think I've seen any game developer use yet, but I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments down below if there is a game out there that does use the sensors on the Quest controller or any other sensor on any other controller. Now, I will admit, there are positive sides of things for VR games because they are a different experience. I mean, in VR, you literally get to grab your own weapon and swing at your own pace instead of waiting for a animation cycle to continue or discontinue, right? Same thing with weapons like an AK-47. You can do different kinds of reloads. You can actually do the really cool magazine kick where you can kick the old magazine off and put the new magazine in. Looks super cool. Don't know what the technique is called, but it's super cool. And there's a bunch of other things out there that make VR much more interesting to play, but I don't think it's worth buying yet. But I want to know your thoughts about it. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about this. Do you think that VR games are in need of desperate help? Do you think that they need a better game to kind of outshine all the other games out there? Do you think there's a game that should be the standard for a lot of other games out there? Let me know. And if you do like the video, press that like button for me, and also subscribe to the channel if you guys enjoyed this video. And that's it for me, really. Next video hopefully will be about the new Ghost of Tabor update, which hasn't come out yet at the time of this recording. But I hope that Ghost of Tabor will do a lot of things because they decided to fix something that I've been asking for months, and they're finally fixing it, so I'm very grateful for that. Anyways, that's it for me. Deuces. Take care, everyone.